Hey everybody, welcome to this, my second of two videos on the Canon EOS 5000. In the first video, we looked at what all the stuff was. In this video, we're going to talk about how to use the camera. So let's just jump right into it. First thing is that this camera cannot do anything at all without batteries. So what you need are two CR123 batteries, and there's a guide on the bottom of the battery door here to how to load them. This one goes positive terminal up, negative terminal up, and that's it. You've changed the batteries. You simply open the battery chamber, pop the old out, pop the new in, and you are set to go. Next thing we're going to do is talk about how to mount and unmount lenses. Really simple. Push the lens release button and turn counter or anti-clockwise to remove a lens. To mount a lens, you find the red dot on the lens, the red dot on the camera. Line them up, drop it into place, and you have now mounted your lens on your camera. Very simple process. All right, next thing let's do with this, the Canon EOS 5000, is load and unload film. And pretty easy process here. Just lift up on the latch, grab your roll of film, drop it in, pull it out. This camera, everything is automatic. It's going to read the ISO off the DX code. And so if you, with this camera, your film has to have a DX code. So almost any film will work. As long as you have silver codes like this, then your camera can tell what kind of film you have. If you're using a specialty film that doesn't have those DX codes, it will not work properly with this camera. Camera is going to preload all of the film, and what it's done is it's taken all of the film in the cassette here and pulled it forward and wrapped it up on the take-up spool. So film is one and done, and what I mean by that is that it can record light once. It can record light in a controlled manner through a proper shutter speed and aperture setting. It can also record light in an uncontrolled manner, like this. So here's what happens with the film when it moves through the camera. Camera pulls it out of here and brings it up to that side of the camera. So basically, as you're going through your day taking your photos with this camera, it's going to rewind them into the film cassette. When you get down to the end, it's going to rewind the film all the way into the cassette. I don't actually want to do this because I need to use this film in other videos. So I'm going to open up the film back and take it out. But in real life, when you got down to one, you'd take one more photo, it would finish rewinding the film into the cassette, and then you just take your cassette out of the camera and put a new one in. Or not put a new one in if you were done for the day. But like I said, I need to reuse this, so I'm going to open it up now. Oh, good. As you can see, the camera is working properly. So anyway, in real life, then, of course, your film would be totally rewound. You would take it out, and then you could put another cassette in or be done shooting for the day. And that's how you load and unload film into the camera. It's very easy, very foolproof, and you're going to have to try to get it wrong. Next thing let's talk about is how to use the different modes up here. And we'll go through them all, and starting here on this end, and then just go around this way. Okay, that doodad right there, this bottom one is sports mode. What sports mode does is it biases towards the fastest shutter speed it can give you, and that the goal of it being to freeze action. This works best with telephoto lenses, but if you're using, say, a standard 50 or a kit 28 through 80 or 35 through 80, it will try to give you it'll give you the widest aperture it can to give you the fastest shutter speed. This next one is macro, and macro will fire the flash if you lift up the flash and if the subject is dark or backlit. Close-up, actually, I think is the correct term for this, not macro. This is a mode you can use when your subject is as close to your lens as it can be and still be in focus. So this is for when you're very close to your subject, taking pictures of, say, flowers. This little mountain range here is landscape. What landscape does is give you the deepest depth of field possible. It works best with wide angle lenses or the wide angle of your kit zoom lens. So basically what this seeks to do is give you infinity in focus as well as close as possible to the lens. This is portrait mode. Portrait mode will fire the flash if needed. And what it does is give you a depth of field that gets a person in focus, and if your person is far enough removed from the background, a blurry background. So to set yourself up for success using this mode, using something like a kit 50mm 1.8 lens is a great choice, or using your kit zoom lens on the 80mm end is a good choice, and then have your subject stand, I don't know, 8-9 feet in front of some sort of background, and that will give you a blurrier background look. Green box, the camera controls everything. You have no control whatsoever other than pushing the shutter button. That's the one thing you can do. Lock turns the camera off so that you can't accidentally take pictures and you can preserve your battery a bit. All of these different shutter speeds are your shutter priority speeds. And basically, with these, the camera will take a picture at this shutter speed and then select the best aperture for your photo based on the shutter speed. In general, don't use these slower than 1/60th without a tripod. And an even better rule of thumb is don't use a number that is lower than the millimeter length of your lens. So let's say you have a 200mm lens. You don't want to use a shutter speed slower than 1/250th. Well, what if you're using a 500? You're pretty much locked into 500, 1,000, or 2,000. And realistically, 1,000 and 2,000 are the best in that range. If you're using an 18mm lens, still don't go below 1/60th of a second. And that will give you the images that have the least chance of having blur in them from camera shake. Bulb is you hold the button down to open the shutter, you release it to close the shutter. Your self-timer, basically you push the self-timer and why is it? Do you really have to hold it down? Yeah. So you've got to hold the self-timer down, which is ridiculous because this means you are not able to run around the camera to get in front of it to be part of the photo. And then it will shoot in program mode and just pick the best shutter and aperture for you. And this is film rewind, which combines with this button right here so that you can, if you set it to this mode and then hold this button down, it will rewind the film mid-roll so that you can, if you decide, hey, I've shot 18 shots on this roll of 24, I'm not going to finish it today, I'm not going to shoot this camera again for a few weeks, but I want to get these photos, rewind it, and then you can send the film into the lab. And that is how you do everything on this mode dial. Next thing we're going to talk about is using the flash. There are two ways to use the flash. You can use the pop-up here like that, or you can put a flash on the hot shoe. And for the hot shoe demonstration, you'll have to turn your head sideways. Let's pretend that this is a flash, not a studio light. This right here, this arrangement, is the worst possible one you can have for a flash, which means, yes, using the pop-up flash is also the worst possible arrangement. And the reason is when this flash triggers, the light exits the flash, reaches your subject, bounces back to the lens, and your subject looks flat and waxy, and it is unflattering to look at. So if you're going to get a flash, any modern flash you could buy from any online retailer will work. What you want to get is the least expensive flash you can and get one with manual controls. So you can dial in the manual settings and then the flash will just be triggered by the camera. You can also use some of the more advanced Canon flashes if you want to get, I believe this camera will support through the lens metering for flashes. So at any rate, you can use some of the Canon flashes. Those will work too. The big thing that you want is a flash that has an articulating head so that you can angle the flash upward. And the reason for that is because the light exiting the flash, reaching the ceiling, reaching your subject, and back to the film mimics the way that we see subjects in real life, where the sun illuminates people from above. Street lights or ceiling lights illuminate people from above. We're used to seeing people illuminated and other subjects, buildings, trees, canyons, whatever, illuminated from above, and that's how our brains perceive a flattering lighting. So if you can get an articulating flash to bounce the flash up. If you're outside, you can either set the flash over here. You cannot do that. If you're outside, you're kind of out of luck unless you have an articulating flash that can also rotate. So having a flash head that can move up and down and left and right is going to give you the most flexibility when it comes to using your flash. So at any rate, I forgot this camera does not have a PC port, so there is not really an easy external option short of using an RF adapter on here and on your flash so that you can handhold your flash if you want to, which is a good way to do that as well. The flash, when you use the flash, basically your sync speed is 1/90th. So on shutter priority, you can use anything up to 1/60th. And the reason for that is shutter speeds are not determined by how fast the shutter curtain moves. The shutter curtain always moves at exactly the same speed and then it resets. At 1/90th, the curtain is open, the entire film plane is open to light, and then the second curtain closes. So the actual process of the flash firing at 1/90th and slower speeds is the first curtain opens, and when that first curtain finishes its travel, that's when the flash fires. And then the second curtain at some point after that closes. At 1/90th, which you can access through green mode or the scene modes, specifically portrait and close-up. At 1/90th, the film is exposed to light for 1/90th of a second. At 1/8th, the film is exposed to light for 1/8th, and then the curtain closes again, and then it resets. That's the fundamental reason why there is a fastest shutter speed. So what happens if you set the camera to 1/500th? Well, the first curtain's going to open, and then the second curtain's going to close behind it. So when you use shutter speeds faster than a 90th, there's a gap between the curtains. It's not that the curtains are moving faster. So if you used the flash at 1/500th, the first curtain finishes its travel right here. Flash fires. This is illuminated by the flash. All of this is blocked by the curtain and will be dark on your film. So you'll just get a strip of illuminated light. So that's some of using a flash, some basic techniques, and some basic understanding about how the camera mechanically works with a flash. Next thing we're going to talk about is how to use partial metering with this camera. And for partial metering, what we're going to do is use the Asterisk. So basically, when you look through the viewfinder of your camera, there's a circle in there, and that's the partial metering circle. And what you want to do is if you want to meter off just the stuff in that partial circle, hold the asterisk down. And as long as the asterisk is pressed, and as long as the asterisk icon is visible in the viewfinder, which it will appear when you push the asterisk button, the camera will use partial metering. And then, so basically, the mechanics behind it, it's a little bit fiddly. You're going to hold the camera like this. You're going to push the asterisk with your thumb. You're going to do your partial metering, and you're going to take your photo. Now, partial metering will work in any of these modes, because in shutter priority, it will determine your aperture setting. And in the program and scene modes, or well, the automatic and scene modes, it will determine what settings the camera uses. So that's how you use partial metering to get a spot meter reading. And I believe that the Asterisk also performs AE lock, which means let's say that you have your scene here and there's a person in the center, and you use your partial metering to meter off that person's face, but you don't want that person's face in the middle of your image. So you meter off of it, keep holding the asterisk, recompose so that the person's over here and then there's a scene over here, and take your picture without letting go of the asterisk button. And the camera will remember the settings that it needs for that partial meter reading and then deliver those even though you've recomposed. So let's go through everything that we've done with this camera so far and talk about how to take a picture. Now in these modes, green mode and the scene modes, it's really simple. You just select which one of these you want to use and take a picture. With the shutter priority settings, it's again really simple. All you have to do is select your shutter speed and take a picture. If you're going to use manual focus, then you just have to manually focus your lens. Otherwise, just make sure you're in autofocus, and there you go. That's it. It's super easy. There are no double exposures with this camera, so it's only a single exposure camera, and it is designed, and very successfully designed, to be incredibly easy to use. And that's it. That is everything about the Canon EOS 5000. Very uncommon camera here in the US, but also, if you have one, super easy to use. You don't really have to think about all that much with it at all. Very lightweight, very easy to carry around. Very good for travel, for camping, for hiking, things like that, shooting in the city. Anytime you don't want to carry a lot of weight, definitely a solid option. Thank you for watching this video. Please give me a thumbs up. That lets me know that I'm on the right track producing content which is useful and helpful to you. If you have any questions or comments, please leave those in the comments section below. I'm pretty good about checking these every couple of days and answering questions. If you have any suggestions or ideas for future videos, and if I have the technical know-how and equipment, I'm more than happy to make those. One last thing. Thank you everyone for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. I gotta get up, Steinbeck. I have to turn off the camera.